Welcome, friends, to the weekly worship service of Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church, or as we fondly abbreviate it, BBUUC. Unitarian Universalism is a faith denomination that is guided by 7 principles. To find out more about Unitarian Universalism or our church, please visit our website at bbuuc.org, or you can check out the UUA website at uua.org. I am grateful that you have chosen to connect with us today. We are posting from our YouTube channel, one of the many ways we are staying connected during this time of social distancing. We will continue to offer virtual worship programming until we can resume services in our church sanctuary. In addition to worship, we are continuing other opportunities to connect through our Zoom platform, including classes, small group ministries, children's chapel, parent groups, and coffee conversations. Keep an eye on the church website, calendar, Facebook page, and your email for more information on the various ways we can be the keepers of the flame with interconnection, care, and love that is the heart of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Our opening words come from the Buddhist nun Pema Chodron. In life, we think that the point is to pass the test or overcome the problem. The real truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together for a time, then they fall back apart, then they come together and fall apart again. It's just like that. Personal discovery and growth come from letting there be room for all this to happen. Room for grief, for relief, for misery, for joy. Suffering comes from wishing things were different. Misery is self-inflicted when we are expecting the idea to overcome the actual, or needing things for people, or places to be different for us, so we can then be happy. Let the hard things in life break you. Let them affect you. Let them change you. Let those hard moments inform you. Let this pain be your teacher. The experiences of your life are trying to tell you something about yourself. Don't cop out on that. Don't run away and hide under your covers. Lean into it. What is the lesson in the wind? What is the storm trying to tell you? What will you learn if you face it with courage, with full honesty, and lean into it? Our chalice words today come from Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Now I'd like to introduce our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, Chris Jarman, for our story for all ages.
Good morning. I am so happy to be here with you this morning in this our first virtual worship service. As I was preparing for this week, I went into my personal wonder box and I found this, a moon that my son Morgan gave to me years ago. It's very special to me, and it reminds me of a story by Unitarian Universalist Kirsten Mayer, and it's called The Island and the Moon. One night, when the moon turned her face towards the earth, it seemed as if the whole earth shimmered in her silvery light. She shined upon the mountains, and every pebble glowed. She shined upon the vast waters, and every drop of spray glowed. She shined upon the big shore, and every grain of sand glowed. She shined among the many islands along the coast, and every island glowed, except one. There, nestled close to the shore, was one tiny island, the only dark spot on the whole shimmery earth. "Little island," called the moon, "why do you not glow? Is my light too dim?" The island did not answer, so the moon turned her face more fully to the earth. Still, the island did not glow. "Little island," called the moon, "are you in a shadow?" The island did not answer, so the moon took a deep breath and blew away any wisp of clouds. Let's do that together. Are you ready? Let's take a breath in and then blow away the clouds. But you know what? Still, the island did not glow. "Little island," the moon said, "please tell me why you do not glow." And finally, the little island answered, "I am alone." "You are not alone," said the moon. "The vast waters surround you. See them shimmering in my light?" "The waters are not like me," said the island. "They are not land. I am alone." "You are not alone," said the moon. "You are but a stone's throw away from the big shore." "I cannot throw a stone, and I cannot touch the land," said the island. "I am alone, and alone I am too little to glow." "You are not too little to glow," said the moon. "I shine on everything equally. Every rock on the great mountain, every drop of spray in the big waters, every grain of sand on the shore, and every little island." But nothing the moon said could change the little island's mind. It still did not glow. As the moon moved past the little island and watched the dark spot grow smaller and smaller in her distance, she had an idea. The moon called to the waters, "Oh, shining waters, follow me, follow me." And slowly, slowly, the waters of the little bay slipped out into the ocean, following the moon. And slowly, slowly, the beach of the big shore stretched closer and closer to the island. And slowly, slowly, the beach of the little island stretched closer and closer to the big shore until finally they touched. For a few moments, the little island and the big shore were one. And then slowly, slowly, the waters began to slip back into the bay. When the moon came around again, the next night, bringing the waters with her, she shined upon the great mountains, and every pebble glowed. She shined upon the vast waters, and every drop of spray glowed. She shined upon the great shore, and every grain of sand glowed. She shined among the many islands along the coast, and every island glowed. The entire earth glowed in her shimmery, silvery light. Right now, with everyone physically distancing themselves and doing their best to stay home so that we protect those most vulnerable among us from the COVID virus, the world can seem pretty big and maybe a little scary. And just like the little island, we can feel like we're all alone. But the cool thing is, the internet is for us what the moon is for the little island. The moon causes the waters to flow in and out of the bay, allowing the little island to touch the big shore and not be alone in that moment. And in not being alone, the little island doesn't feel alone and doesn't feel scared. The internet allows us to reach out to each other, to still be together in spirit and love, even as we stay home. And just as the moon said to the little island, you are not alone. You are surrounded by the light and the love of our beloved community. Be not afraid. Embrace the light. Reach out to others. And glow, glow, glow. And with this, my story is told. Until next time.
This is the time in our service when we pause to create sacred space in our hearts. We pause to reflect on recent days with joys, sorrows, fears, gratitude, and love. We recall the milestones, the changes in our lives, and those who need our healing thoughts. Our community is deepened by sharing. We would like to light a virtual candle of concern for Ellen M's brother, Paul. He is in declining health, and due to visiting restrictions, Ellen is not able to visit him for comfort. Please keep Ellen and Paul in your thoughts. A candle of concern for Caitlin R.'s friend, Hugh, who passed away in his sleep a few weeks ago. He brought her love and smiles when she needed them most, and she will miss him dearly. A candle of concern for all the healthcare workers and medical professionals who are working hard and taking risks to care for patients during this pandemic. They have our deepest gratitude. Candle of concern for those in our congregation and beyond who are alone in isolation, and particularly for those who don't have the technology and virtual connections that many have to make the situation a bit easier. A candle of concern for Hillary F's sister's family, who are all at home in New York with the COVID-19 virus. A candle of sorrow for Reverend Carmen E. at the loss of her father, Olin, on March 14th at his home in Texas, surrounded by his family after a long and brave battle with leukemia. A candle of joy for Grace and Don R., who are happy and healthy in Asheville, North Carolina. A candle of joy for Debbie A.'s niece and her husband, who had a baby on St. Patrick's Day. A candle of joy for our Director of Religious Education, Chris J., who has done a great job of keeping our church family connected with continued religious education programming, as well as aiding the congregation to move to a Zoom platform for classes as well as meetings. A candle of joy for all of our volunteer leaders who continue to care for the congregation and church building while we practice social distancing. A candle of joy for Alyssa H. and Nick R.'s marriage. 2 families of 2 became 1 family of 4. This last virtual candle we light for all of the joys and concerns that remain in our hearts, but not yet spoken. During these challenging times that we are experiencing, we realize just how important it is to journey through this together as a faith community. Let us hold one another in our hearts. Let us be filled with kindness and grace. Let us lift our hopes and our prayers for one another. Let us reach out in our solitude and remember that we all need connection, whether it's a call, a card, an email, or text. Know too that your congregation is here for you should you find yourself in need of comfort or help. Let us hold on to these words and reflect on this meditation. Let us open our minds and hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain, and the soft, gentle coming of love. You are what makes this church a community. During this challenging time, we remember that BBUUC is more than merely a building where we meet. It is each of us who make up this congregation. While we are unable to gather in person, we are exploring new ways to connect, to love, to serve, and to be with one another. During this time of uncertainty, we remain focused on our mission. We remain focused on maintaining our ministry, building and grounds, staff, and our shared values. While we are unable to pass the plate in person, we will gratefully accept your virtual offering. We are so pleased to announce that today's offering will all be contributed to our congregation's Emergency Caring Fund. This fund gives our members anonymous financial help if assistance is needed related to illness, disability, death, loss of income, or act of nature. The fund has been in operation since the early days of our congregation and has helped many of our members and their families through rough patches. This fund is maintained only through your generous donations and not from pledge money. To make an offering, simply go to the link in the description below to access our PayPal giving fund and give any amount, whatever you are able to share. Your contributions are most appreciated. Thank you. I'm delighted to introduce to you today Manuel Andrade, or as we fondly know him as, Manny. Manny is a life-professed Franciscan friar who became a Unitarian Universalist and member of our church 6 years ago.
Good morning. Those of us who are raised in one of the Christian traditions at some point in religious instruction came across the phrase, "Be not afraid," or the phrase, "Fear not." These phrases appear over and over again in the Second Testament, and as children we probably accepted "fear not" as truth, and probably without a lot of questions. As we matured in faith, however, questions arose and we needed better answers and further explanation. It's fairly easy to conclude that life demands that we continuously learn to figure out how to deal with our fears and not be swallowed by them. Well, in light of what's happening today all over the planet with the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, we find ourselves again at a point where we're forced to deal with changes related to daily routines and function. The pandemic brings up concerns about our health and even our fears of mortality. And all of this is coupled with managing loss of pay or working from home and continued care of children and family and friends. So, given all that is currently happening, we're bound to deal with fear and frustration in varying degrees. According to this, we are hearing conflicting and sometimes confusing messages from national and state leadership. No one can question we're living in a stressful period. It's important now more than before to remember to be kind to ourselves. It's important to remember that Depending on our own personal situation, fear will rise, and it's okay to be afraid. Remember, our fears under any circumstance are valid, and fears deserve to be validated and addressed. Together with fear, joy, sadness, anger, confusion, they make up the core of human emotions. These will always be a part of who we are. During this period, it's also important to work on maintaining a healthy perspective. That is, to distinguish between our rational and irrational fears. When we read reports or watch news programs, now is a time to remember that possibility and probability are two different things. That safety precautions benefit everyone, and especially the most vulnerable. Now is an important time to take care of ourselves while giving special attention to those most in need. Using compassion as our guide and light, I invite us, as we can, to reach to those in need and isolation, especially those who are part of our BBUUC community, and also to reach others elsewhere. In doing the outreach, we may find further meaning and purpose in this challenging period. We may even feel a certain level of satisfaction and possibly even control. Social distancing does not mean emotional distancing. Our BBUUC community stands as witness to compassion as part of our walk in faith. As Lutheran pastor Reverend Nadia Bells-Weber states so eloquently, the opposite of fear is hope. She clarifies that love and hope are the perfect antidotes in these challenging times. Reverend Bells-Weber goes on to tell the story that Martin Luther, the great reformer, was once asked that what would he do if he knew the world were coming to an end tomorrow? She stated that Luther responded by saying that he would plant trees. Like Luther, our community needs to be defiantly hopeful. It is each one of us as an individual who defines the contour of our hearts, the content of our minds, and the compassion in our work. Let's continue to follow the guidelines for safety. Let's continue to reach out to each other. Let's build amid the pandemic a community that is defiantly hopeful. Amen. Namaste. Blessed be.
Thank you, Manny. We're going to extinguish the chalice today with these closing words, which come from Brian Tracy. In these difficult times, remember, you have within you, right now, everything you need to deal with whatever the world can throw at you. May it be so. Go in peace. Thank you for being with us today.